Thank you. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show. Today is Thursday, July 25th, 2013, and the local time is 7 p.m. Central Minnesota time. My name is Kafumba Kroma. I will be your host. Today I have the extreme privilege of hosting the Finance Minister of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Amara Konneh. Like I always say, there are certain guests that are more famous than they show, and so therefore we do not need to introduce those guests. That was true for Senator Joy Howard Taylor, Senator Thomas Groupie, Representative Mariam Fofana, Representative Sewe Donor, TRC Commissioner Sheikh Kafumba Konneh, Associate Supreme Court Justice Cabinet Jane, Salensa Jiba, Gender Minister Duncan Cassell, and Minister Komini B. Wuse, as it is true for Honorable Amara Konneh today. He does not need to be introduced. I believe his name brought many of you here, including myself. Tonight, Honorable Konneh will be discussing several issues of national concern, if time permits, including, but not limited to, the rehabilitation of the Rawa International Airport, RIA, the rehabilitation of McCarthy Hydroelectric plant, poverty reduction strategy that is spearheaded a few years back, Liberia's economic recovery status, the war on corruption, and of course, the $13 million most talked about issue, if time permits. This is a very special edition of the Liberian Diaspora Forum Talk Show, first time ever on Thursday. And believe me, for the very first time I've ever seen this number of callers on a single show. Right now, there are at least 900 people logged on this particular time. Many more people possibly trying to call in as we speak. The rules tonight, as always, will be civil at all times during the show. Honorable Konneh will begin his introductory remarks, and I will immediately begin taking your questions. Aside little, each caller will only be given 1 minute of talk time due to the huge volume of call. Please note that I will not hesitate to close your line if you exceed your time at any time, and or if you try to be disrespectful to our guests or other listeners. With that said, I will turn the floor over to Honorable Amara Konneh so he can begin his introductory remark, and we will get the show going from there. Honorable Konneh, welcome to the Liberian Diaspora Forum Talk Show.
Thank you very much, Kafumba, and thank you so much for inviting me to come on your show. And I want to say happy 26 to all your listeners and to all Liberians in the diaspora and back home. As you know, I'm here this week to honor an invitation from OLM to serve as the keynote speaker for our 166th Independence Anniversary here in Minnesota. It is a privilege for me to be here, and I'm here specifically to talk about our country. I hope, like tomorrow night, we can achieve the following. One, we can reflect on our country, the past, and then we can talk about the future to start an honest conversation about some of the soft issues that we don't pay attention to in our country. The development strategy that we are currently pursuing has two sides, and as somebody with a system background, we have the hardware side, software side. The hardware side is what we are going to be talking about tonight: the hydro, the airport, the highways, the information and communication technologies, those things that will bring about economic transformation to expand the pie so that all Liberians can benefit. The other side that we don't talk about often is the side that I call the software side, because you don't see any moving things. They include exclusion, marginalization, the issue of citizenship. Those of our brothers and sisters in the diaspora are as much Liberians as we are back home, so we need to talk about that. We need to talk about the issue of tribalism in Liberia. It's still very real and driving most of the conflict around land issues that can, exacerbate and lead to other bigger national crises. The issue of land ownership in Liberia. The issue of child protection. We don't talk about those issues. A part of our development strategy, and they continue to elude us. And as long as they do that, our development is going to be stunted, and we get the same result that we had some 35 years ago. So I'm here this week to begin that honest conversation with my fellow citizens here, and hopefully the message can go back home. But also I'm here to socialize, to make new friends, to enjoy our Independence Day and to talk about a shared future for all Liberians. So I'm looking forward to this conversation tonight. I hope we can be as open-minded as possible. I will be as frank as possible, and hopefully we all can leave from here tonight with some new knowledge than we had before we came on. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Konneh. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for your deliberation. Well, folks, you just heard the Honorable Minister of Finance, Honorable Amara, and I have opened up your question line. So now is the time for you to engage the Honorable Minister. So if you have any question, comment, or concern, this will be the best time to begin dialing *61 on your phone. Your questions will come over here, and I will get them over to the Minister. If you happen to be at work where you cannot dial *61 to talk, by all means, as we've always done, you may text your question to me at 612-203-3820. If that doesn't work either, but you can email your question to Liberian Diaspora Forum at live.com. All of those questions will come to me, and I'll get them over to the Minister. Some of you have started dialing *61. That's a good thing. I will get to you here. But let me begin by asking the Minister perhaps the simplest question of the night, at least I like to believe. Honorable Konneh, you've been here before. You've been, I believe it was back in 2010 or 2009 when you came here and addressed cross-section of Liberians on the poverty reduction strategy. And if my memory serves me right, you were well greeted when you came. Everyone applauded you for the great job done, and you left on a very good, friendly note. Unlike this time, there's so much controversy surrounding your coming back to the Twin City to speak at the Liberian Independence Day event. So my question to you, why do you think there's so much divide and controversy about your second coming this time?
I wish I had an answer for that, but I don't see it as a controversy. I see the renewed interest in my coming to Minnesota as basically a hunger for knowledge. That's how I see it. I think our fellow citizens who are here really are hungry for knowledge. They want to know whether what's being reported by online, institutions are true, and so they want to use this opportunity to ask their finance minister, the tough questions around the things that have been reported recently. And I think, let me get to the bottom of it. I think you're referring to the EU budget support, because that sparked the debate. And this current debate about corruption is raw, it's timely, and it's something that we should encourage. So I don't see it as a controversy. I see it as basically a thirst for knowledge. And hopefully tonight we can do our best to provide more information that will broaden people's minds.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Konneh. Well, we'll begin taking questions from our listeners. So we'll take the first question for the night, and that comes from 9326-9326. Would you please call your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Honorable Konneh, 9326. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, hello, are you on? Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
All right, she must have. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, it is 9326.
Okay. Yeah, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question for Minister Konneh?
My name is Felicia Weir. I'm calling from Philadelphia.
Okay.
And my question for Minister Konneh is in regards to the hydro. What is the whole of the process?
What is what?
So, Felicia, you're kind of low. Can you speak a little louder? What is wrong with the hydro? Repeat the question, man.
What is the whole of for the hydro process in Liberia?
The hold on for the hydro project in Liberia. All right. Thank you.
Kapuma, how do you do it? So I answer each question, or you ask several questions?
Yeah, each question. Yeah, one question at a time, sir.
Okay. Alicia, thank you very much. First of all, the hydro was built in 1966. It cost the government of Liberia $60 million to build a hydro. That hydro generated about 60 megawatts in the rainy season. During the war, we looted the hydro. It had 4 turbines. The turbines are the machines that the water can turn to produce the electricity. Liberians, not foreigners, Liberians went there and cut out the engines, put it on the ship, and sent them abroad as scrap during the war. So we destroyed the hydro, and that was the backbone for the economy. And so we need to rebuild that hydro. To rebuild that hydro today, Felicia, it's going to cost us $250 million. All right? That's what we're trying to do. So here is the progress to date on the hydro. We have mobilized all of the $250 million for the hydro. And Norway is putting in, I believe, $3 million. I mean, my math will not be right because I'm not looking at any papers. And then the Germans are bringing in some $35 million. And then we are taking a $65 million loan from the European Investment Bank, a highly concessional rate, I think about between 0 to 1% interest rate. And the government of Liberia is going to contribute $45 million over 3 years. We've met our first year commitment. This is why we're trying to shift the budget, to cut the fat in the budget so that we can shift some of that money to meet our obligation for the hydro. Currently, the procurement process for the first engine has started. We have established a project implementation unit at the Liberia Electricity Corporation, the LAC, through our arrangement with Manitoba Hydro from Canada. They are managing that project. Stanley Consultants have done all the feasibility study. The environmental impact assessment has been made, and we found out that some Liberians also use the land around the hydro to plant rubber trees. Now, for us to remove them, we have to settle with them. They were charging us $99 per tree for a cost of around $12 million. But President Sully used her executive power to challenge that, to bring that cost significantly down to around $1 million. So we are on track with the hydro. Just 2 weeks ago, I signed the Norwegian grant agreement, and I'm in the process now of finalizing the German grant, agreement. In the next few weeks, we'll be able to sign that off, and all of the money will be deposited into a holding account in London, from where disbursements will be made to the companies that will be producing the engine. So there's no hold up. Building a hydro will take some time, but in terms of mobilizing the financial resources, I can safely tell you and the Liberian people that we have achieved that. It's the engineering part now that needs to start, and that is in process now with the procurement. So our target is to get the hydro up by the end of 2015, if everything goes well, based on what the engineers are telling us. We'll keep you posted as we go along. But thank you so much for a very good question. The reason why the hydro is important is because right now the crisis in Liberia is unemployment. The government cannot employ everybody. The concession companies that are in a country can only produce very few direct jobs. It's the indirect jobs after the start operation that will actually get the benefit down to the ordinary person. In order to create businesses employment for Liberians, we need to attract light manufacturing, and you need cheap electricity to do that. Currently, Liberia has the highest electricity cost in the world at 54 cents per kilowatt hour. There's no way any business can survive with that high cost. So before the hydro can come online, we are going to build 3 thermal power plants. They call them HFOs, heavy fuel oil plants. The government of Liberia is building an 18-megawatt plant. We've already disbursed $15 million for that. It's going to cost us around $24 million. The World Bank is going to finance through IDA credit, International Development Association credit, a 10-megawatt facility. The procurement has been finished. Now we are building the fuel jetty, the area where the fuel oil will be unloaded at the Freeport of Monrovia. And then the Japanese are going to build another 10 megawatts for a total of 38 megawatts in 18 months. That will significantly reduce the price of power from 54 cents to around 25 cents. When the hydro comes online, we can further reduce the power of electricity in Liberia to around 10 to 11 cents. And so that would be good for small businesses. That would be good for attracting light manufacturing, so we can see Liberians going to factories and producing matches and pencils and things that we can call made in Liberia. That's what we're trying to do. This is part of the whole economic transformation agenda. It will not happen overnight. It will take some time, but eventually we'll get there. We have all the fundamentals in place. All of the projects have started. These are all 3-year programs. That's why we introduced the medium-term expenditure framework budget last year, so that we make sure that all of these projects are supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Konneh. So many of you just joined us within the last 2-3 minutes. I'd like to welcome you to a very special edition of the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show with Liberia Finance Minister Honorable Amara Konneh. If you're just joining us and you came with a preconceived question, by all means, please dial *61 on your phone. We'll be glad to get your questions over to Minister Konneh. Moving on, we'll take the next caller here, 9757, 9757. Would you please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh?
Yeah, my name is Joe Morba, and I'm calling from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Mr. Morba.
Yeah, Mr. Konneh, I just want you to know that we the Liberian community in Coatesville, we'll let to have some talk with you, maybe anytime you have your spare time while you're visiting here. My question has to do with the dual citizenship, because we all came to the United States on some set of conditions and to improve our lives. But sometimes what really get to me is Liberian, discriminating, like Mr. Konneh said, people. Liberia, like I can look at the country, Liberia is now divided than ever before, because you look at Liberians telling their fellow Liberians,
Mr.
oh no, yeah.
Mr. Morba?
Yeah.
You only got 1 minute. I got so many callers online,
okay.
So if you just want to squeeze everything in 1 minute, I would appreciate that, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Konneh, what I want to know is, what is the government doing about the dual citizenship? Because, because it's kind of hard to see people telling their brother that they are not Liberian. So can you really talk a little bit about the dual citizenship? What is the government doing? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Morba.
Thank you, Mr. Morba. And I will avail myself to meet with you and other Liberians in the Coastville area when I'm down there on the issue of the dual citizenship. First of all, let me go on record to say that I am a proponent for dual citizenship. Ghana is doing it. Cote d'Ivoire is doing it. Sierra Leone is doing it. All the countries in our neighborhood are doing it, and you can see the difference. I think we need to build a powerful coalition to work with the legislature to amend certain aspects in our laws on citizenship. Our citizenship laws are discriminatory. It's clear they are on the books. There are no incentives for people who are not Liberians. In this case, Liberians now who are in the diaspora because of no fault of their own. They came here because of conflict. They've established themselves. They have families. They're working here. They're remitting millions of dollars every year to relatives, to families back home. The remittances are helping to fuel the economy. They shouldn't be excluded. But I think we need to do it in a way that we carefully re-examine our citizenship law to make sure that we're building incentives for people to invest in Liberia. And that is why, in our judgment, from an economic standpoint, there is this huge capital flight because the economy is basically dominated by foreigners. When I see all the payments going through finance ministry, going through foreign companies, when you pay them in U.S. dollars, the U.S. dollars we pay them are repatriated to their country capital. So it creates shortage of U.S. dollars on the market, and then you have this situation with the exchange rate. There are so many reasons why we should embrace the dual citizenship issue. That's one of it. The second one has to do with the issue of capacity. Right now, all due respect to my fellow citizens back home, and I think this is at the core of the issue, we have a human capital deficit in Liberia in terms of, productivity. For those of us who did elementary economics, there is this, production possibility curve that every country is trying to reach at. Now, when you stay way below that curve, you can see the impact on your economy. Every country is moving up towards that curve. Liberia today, we have a 12-hour economy. Production is very low, and within the 12 hours, the production in the 12 hours is even lower. So we need to open the doors for Liberians who have gone abroad, acquire new skills and new knowledge to come home. But they should not come home to do that at the detriment of those they met home. So it's a catch-22 situation that people who leave from the diaspora and go home, they go with a certain level of arrogance, and then they don't have any respect for those they met there, and that creates the resentment. And so we need to balance the two. But the time couldn't be better now for us to embrace the dual citizenship issue because it's no longer a question of, keeping white people out of the citizenship issue, the land issue. It's a question now of keeping our own Liberians who were born in Liberia away from Liberia. And I think those of you in the diaspora here, that should be what the demonstration should be about. That should be what the debate should be about. But that debate has not taken hold in the diaspora. So you will find it difficult to find partners back home to support you. You have to rally around this. You have to come home as a group, lobby the legislature and see if we can get this thing done. You have partners in Liberia, somebody like me and so many other people who I know support this thing here. And so we're looking forward to the day that we can, put together that coalition. Before I close on this subject, I want to thank the current EULA leadership. They were in the country a few months ago. They lobbied. They went on radio shows. There were some people who were against it and some were for it. I think that debate was healthy, but we need to continue it. They should not be discouraged. But they need support from you, Mr. Moba, and all Liberians here in the U.S. so that we can get the legislation through the legislature on this matter. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Minister Konneh. We'll take our next caller here. 9271. 9271. Would you please tell us your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh? 9271.
Yeah, my name is George Toto.
George Toto. Mr. Toto, welcome to the show. All right.
Yeah, thank you. Also, thanks to the Minister for coming on.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Minister, my question is in terms of development in Liberia. You've been in the serving two ministries, the finance and the planning ministry. In terms of the development infrastructure in Liberia, what is the government priority? What are the priorities of the local in terms of implementing some of the developmental structure in Liberia, like, for example, the airport, and all our major institutions? What are the priorities of the regular local? And also, if you can also show light on
Mr. Toto, can we keep it at one question at least for now, if you don't mind? But maybe I didn't announce that this is a 1 hour, 30 minutes to 35-minute show. We're almost 30 minutes into the show already, and there are a lot of people on here. So maybe we can come back to you later if time permits. Is that all right?
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
Okay, let the Minister address developmental priorities. Minister Konneh, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, George. The government's priorities are the following. 1, infrastructure. Now, under infrastructure, we are prioritizing electricity, followed by roads, followed by ports, and followed by information and communication technology. And then number 2, we're talking about agriculture development. Number 3, we're talking about the human development sector, which is health and education, and of course, security, national security, because UNMIL is drawing down rapidly. But let me tell you why these things are important. It doesn't mean that the other things are not important. Everything in Liberia right now is important. Unfortunately, we do not have money to do everything. And we do not want to take the wholesale approach to development. So in order for us to be able to take care of the rest of the thing, we need to invest in the critical areas now that will help to quickly expand the economy. And that is why we now have an expansionary fiscal policy where we are investing in these critical programs, with the hope that the investment will yield high returns in the short to medium term so that we can increase the budget to do the things that we cannot do now. So on the issue of electricity, we have 4 big programs there. The first program on electricity is the HFO plants that I just talked about. The 3 heavy fuel thermal plants that we are building to produce 38 megawatts within the next 18 to 24 months. And then number 2 is the transmission and distribution, because you have generation and you don't have a way to transmit it and to distribute it into homes and businesses, etc. It's just useless. So, as you know, if you are in Liberia, we brought down all the electrical wires all across the country and sold them to the Nigerians as scrap and shipped it to their country. That's how we destroyed our country. So we need to build it from scratch. So we need to do the Monrovia transmission and distribution, and then we have a 3-corridor strategy. The first corridor is from Pinsville to Kakata, and then the second corridor is from Monrovia to Tubmanburg. The third corridor is from Monrovia, EWA Junction, to Rabos International Airport, connecting with the Kakata grid. So that's the second part in our energy program. The third project in our energy program is the Hydro project. I've talked about that extensively. The 4th project in our energy program is the West African Power Pool. I brought with me a video that I hope I can show to my fellow citizens at the town hall meeting on Saturday. Electricity is coming for the first time in 18 communities along the border on the eastern part of Liberia. Ganta tested electricity 2 nights ago in Ganta City and Tanikole City. Children saw it for the first time. Small businesses are going to benefit from this. And this program is bringing electricity from Côte d'Ivoire. They have excess power there into Liberia. And it will go down Ganta along the train track to Buchanan. And then it will come to Margidi and connect to the Monrovia grid. And then continue along the Bomi Hill corridor. And then, go all the way to the border into Sierra Leone. So this is a regional project, and we have videos to show it. These are the things that we've been working on over the past 18 months. They are moving aggressively. So from Ganta all the way to Harper, Maryland, we have cheap electricity before Monrovia does. So that's the energy program. On the road program, here is the plan. We wanted to connect the 2 major ports, the gateways to the economy, Monrovia and Buchanan. I am pleased tonight to say that the Buchanan Highway is complete. Instead of 5 hours, you're taking 1 hour, 25 minutes from Monrovia to Buchanan today. That corridor is open. The Buchanan port is operational. The train track from Buchanan to Yekepa is complete. The train is making 2 trips every week between Buchanan and Yekepa. Right now, we are working aggressively. I also brought video to show men at work on the highway from Pinsdale Red Light all the way to Ganta and then connecting to the Guinea border, because the Guineans are paving the road from Zerikore all the way to that border in order to improve regional trade. And then the other road we are going to be working on is the Pinsdale Red Light to Freeport. We're going to make that, 2 lanes. And then we are also working on the Marshall Road. But most importantly, in terms of growth, we are working on the roads from Cape Palmas all the way to Fishtown in River G, financed by the African Development Bank. We have opened up the road, so the pavement is going to start in November. We are currently doing feasibility study on the road from Ganta to connect to Fishtown. And already, through our aggressive approach for external financing, we have mobilized $80 million already into a trust fund for that road. That road is going to cost us around $360 million. But we're now waiting until the feasibility is over. We started, raising the money. The other road that we are working on, which we hope will start during this administration, is road from Banga to Bonjama and Menikoma, the Sierra Leone border. That road, phase 1 of that road from Banga to Konneh in Lofa has been completed in terms of feasibility. 2 months ago, I met with the Arab lenders, the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, Badia, Abu Dhabi Fund, to see if they can finance lot 1 of that road. I can't guarantee tonight that we'll finish that road, but I can guarantee you that that road will start during this administration, and the next administration can finish it. So on the road front, in terms of economically impactful roads, those are the ones that we are going to be driving in the second term of President Sirleaf's administration. There are other roads that we're working on in the city. We go Monrovia now, we're trying to open up the city streets to reduce traffic congestion and all of that. But I want to focus on the big picture, the roads that will increase economic activities within the context of the Mano River Union economy, because our economy is probably the smallest, even smaller than Sierra Leone economy. So the strategy we have now, the economic strategy we have, we are expanding our economic activities into the forest region of Guinea and all the way to the Sierra Leone border, because those regions are far from their country capital. So they are shorter to Monrovia and Buchanan. So we've got to go beyond the 3.4 million people economy to increase it to at least 10 million so that we can get most of the benefit. And then on the issue of our ports, 18 months ago, only one ship could dock at the free port of Monrovia at a time. Today, 3 ships can come in at a time because we invested $12 million last fiscal year to dredge that free port of Monrovia for more ships to berth. We've also rehabilitated the marginal wharf to increase the berthing capacity of ships in the place. We've opened up the Buchanan port. Metal Steel is exporting now, and that port is going to be useful in the future so that we can divert traffic from Monrovia to that place, and then there will be a continual traffic between Monrovia and Buchanan. You can see the economic activity going there. The third port we want to focus on is the Greenville port. As you know, we have Putu. The Putu Mountain is being mined now by Severesta in Grand Gila County. They are aggressively moving with that project. That company will pave the road from Zwedru to Greenville, but the government is responsible for the port. So we are currently working with the National Port Authority to increase the capacity in that port in anticipation of the iron ore export from Putu Mountain and the oil palm export from Golden Valerian in eastern Liberia. So right now, that oil palm company is planting, but they have no access to ports in order for them to export. They will be adding value in Liberia, and then they will export. So we are preparing that for that. So that's the strategy for, of course, our international airport. We need to build RRA. RRA was built during World War II. It was a military base for American planes. Since it was built in the 1940s, there's only been one major rehabilitation to the runway. Our runway will not last another rainy season. And so we completed the master plan. I'm pleased to report tonight that we have mobilized 50% of the cost of building a new runway. It will cost us $60 million. We got $30 million. We are talking with the Saudis and Badia to finance the other 50%, another $30 million. We are advancing the discussion, and hopefully by August we can get a deal. And then we're going to privatize the terminal of the airport, and there will be, request for proposal, RFP, and then we'll go through our due process to make sure that the best company is selected to manage the airport. If the airport goes down, so the economy will go down. And then information and communication technology, as you all know, we have fast internet in Liberia now. The challenge is how do we get it so that everybody can use it. So we are investing in the Liberian Telecommunication Corporation to build a ring around Monrovia that everybody can tap into. The goal is to make Monrovia a wireless city in the future. So I just wanted to give some clarity. Of course, agriculture is the mainstay of our economy. Today, we've mobilized around $300 million for agricultural investment, particularly in resuscitating the coffee and cocoa sector, because those were exports, before the war. And now we're not exporting any more coffee and cocoa in Liberia. We want to make sure we subsidize that sector so that we can increase our export to increase the trade imbalance in Liberia. Of course, education and health, we continue to invest in them. Security is important. We need to invest in the police. Our police needs more competent people, better pay, and better training. We can talk about that in detail later on, but those are the main points in our development strategy in terms of priorities.
Thank you, Minister Konneh. Thank you, Minister Konneh. Before I take my next call, I know you made mention of Ganta City, and I just wanted to let my callers know that the land dispute issue in Nimba County is at the final stage right now. We got communication 2 weeks ago that the government of Liberia has resumed payment, to those landowners who agreed to take payment for their land, and to some other people who need to be relocated. That payment is ongoing, and so I spoke with the mayor of Ganta City yesterday and today, Mayor D. Cooper, and he will be joining Liberian Diaspora Forum live from Ganta City this Sunday to give us update about the payment process. So I encourage you to tune in come Sunday with Ganta City Mayor D. Cooper. We'll take the next caller for the day, 5741, 5741. Would you please state your name, where you're calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh? 5741. Hello? Hello, 5741? Mr. Konneh, are you on? Hello? 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 Mr. Konneh? I think I lost the minister here, or do I even? Hello, Minister Konneh? Folks, bear with me here. I got a little technical difficulty. Resolve it right now, so please bear with me. Minister Konneh? I kind of lost the minister there. I don't know. Okay, Minister Konneh just joined us again. I believe this is him. Hello, Minister Konneh?
Yes, sir. Sorry about that.
A little technical difficulty, and that is expected because, trust me, I don't think in the history of this show, I don't think we've ever hosted this many people at any one time. So that is obvious. Now, I was making an announcement about Ganta City Mayor joining us live this coming Sunday to discuss the land dispute final settlement payment issue, and also inviting the audience to tune in this Sunday. The mayor will be joining us live from Ganta City. So with that said, we'll take our next caller. Hopefully he's still there. He or she's still there. 5741, your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh. 5741, are you there? Hello? All right, we'll go to the next caller. I will take 5500, 5500. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh.
This is Asmana Jabatarando from New York, Minister Konneh. In addition to your desire to improve youth employment and a sustainable poverty reduction program, I would like to propose that the government invest in specialized vacation programs for our best students. Programs such as Vacation Mathematics Camp, Vacation Science Leadership Program, and maybe Vacation Leadership Program in Business. And here is my question. Can the poverty reduction program work under such high level of corruption in Liberia? And if it is working, how can it be sustained?
Okay. Thank you very much, Asmana. Thank you. I just took note of your recommendations, and currently we are working on the youth program, which we proposed last year, but which took off very slowly because we needed to get the governance right. But I will share this with my colleagues when I get back to Liberia. Now, to the second part of your question, whether the poverty reduction strategy will work on a high level of corruption in Liberia. My answer is no. No development strategy can be successful when there's corruption. But on a corruption issue, I want to say that when you look at the budget from where it's come in 2005 to present, you can see that our attempt to take money out of people's hands by using systems it's working because the budget is growing, year by year, and we are doing more than we did before 2006. It's just that the structural impediments we have in the Liberian economy is a hindrance. Infrastructure. The Liberian economy had no infrastructure. In 2006, there was 0 megawatt of power in Liberia. 0. All of our roads were bad. So it's taking time for us to see the dividend of peace. On the issue of corruption in Liberia, I think today I can tell you that it is extremely difficult for anyone to put their hands directly in a cookie jar like it happened before, directly under the Ministry of Finance. The corruption is found in procurement processes. The whole 10% business in Liberia is something that we need to really do some underground secret recordings on to catch people, because it is a syndicate with the Lebanese merchant in the country. Let me give you an example. If you went to buy a car in Liberia as a private citizen, all right, a Hyundai, for example, that will cost you around $28,000, it will charge the government $10,000 more for the same car. All right, even when the government is buying more. You go up and come down for you to try to make the justification. We caught one merchant recently. I don't want to say the name because it became a big political problem for me, and we had to rescind the decision. The Supreme Court was purchasing 44 cars from this business. All right, they have sold the same car to the Ministry of Information for $30,000. All right, and the Ministry of Information bought only one for $30,000, and then the Supreme Court put pressure on us at finance to buy 44 cars for their judges all over the country to improve access to justice for our people. And guess how much this company that is owned by a powerful Lebanese in Liberia was charging? It was charging the government $38,000 for each vehicle. $38,000. All right? I had to get my people in the finance ministry to research this until we found the origin of this vehicle. The vehicle was bought in Thailand. They were coming from Thailand to Liberia at duty-free because government was buying it for them. From them. They're not paying any duty. They were selling it at $38,000, sold it to one other entity at $30,000. I reversed the decision. It became a big problem for me. So sometimes I wonder which side I'm on. You're fighting corruption. Corruption is fighting you back. At the same time, the people that you're supposed to build coalition with are also fighting you. So, Mr. Jabate, I agree with you. There's no way we can do that. We have to take bold decisions. We have to be very, very unpopular. People will try to come after you, after anybody who tries to fight corruption in Liberia. But I think we're making some progress, And the progress we need to make now, the focus we need to, the place we need to put focus on now, I want you to go back to our budget. Compare fiscal year 2012-2013 budget to fiscal year 2011-2012 budget for all of the transparency institutions, GAC, LACC, PPCC. Just check them. When I became finance minister, I made it my priority to increase their budget because they need funding. Those people need to have strong spine to do their work. Number two, we need to support the Solicitor General's office in the Ministry of Justice to prosecute cases and win. And number three, we need to break the entrenchment in the judiciary. They have independence. For most of our judges, and I hope, we record this conversation, it is clear that most of our judges are compromised in Liberia. Look at the other day. We went to finance ministry. We got staff who are building, houses that they can't afford to build. They make $3,000 and they get houses that cost about $300,000. So you get all the evidence. You send the evidence, and look, some of them suing me today for $12 million because they got freed by the court. So now I have to fight on the $12 million case because I was trying to fight corruption. So it is entrenched in our society. The latest report by Transparency International on the bribery index in Liberia, where police officers are taking bribes. The two main institutions that were indicted in that report were the police and the judges. Okay, because that report is very clear. It did not indict the entire government. It went specifically to the institutions that are more corrupt. So no, we will not change West Point if there's corruption. We will not change the slum communities, Nukuta, if there's corruption. Yes, we are making progress. And because we are taking money out of people's hands, that's how we are able to build the highway from Monrovia to Buchanan, even though the majority of that money is coming from, development partners. The government contributed substantially by taking care of all of the resettlement action plans for those who were affected along the highway. The same thing for the Monrovia to Ganta highway. So my call to Liberians in the diaspora is that we need a powerful coalition. We need to look at all of the institutions involved in this fight. The president can dismiss, she can fire as she's done recently, but now another institution, another branch of government will have to do their part. And we focus more on the executive versus on the other two branches of government. And the government has three branches, and in our system, innocent until proven guilty. And it's killing us. It's killing us big time. And we need to balance the focus so that other people don't think that they're getting away easily with this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Konneh. Folks, if you're just joining us, and I know so many of you have, I'd like to welcome you to a very special edition of the Liberian Diaspora Forum Weekly Talk Show featuring Liberia Finance Minister, Honorable Amara Konneh. Moving on, we'll take the next question. We don't have a whole lot of time left. We'll take the next caller here, 9476-9476. Your name, where you calling from, your question for Minister Konneh.
Good evening, Honorable Konneh. This is Gofin Ekusha from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. First of all, I want to thank the organizer of this unique conference. I also want to thank the Honorable Minister for taking his time to come to talk to his people. And we the Liberians are proud of you so far, even though there are a lot to be done. My question here is, what are you guys doing, the government of the Republic of Liberia, doing to decentralize, various ministries? Because we have not been in Liberia recently, but according to the information from the ground, like everything anyone needs, you have to go to downtown. And we know development cannot really go to other part of the country if you do not decentralize those ministries. So is there anything you are planning so far to make sure that you do some decentralization? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wolfie. Thank you very much. Yes. The government has adopted a national decentralization policy, and the legislature, I believe, has legislated a decentralization law that is going to change the way the Ministry of Internal Affairs operate and all agencies. But let me say this. Decentralization is very expensive. It's expensive for the size of the budget we have today. What we need to do now is to begin to operationalize the legislation and the policy to put the structure in place, because we're talking about institutions. One of the effects of the Liberian war was the destruction of our institutions. Those are some of the soft things that I talked about earlier. When we look at the war, we measure the impact of the war in terms of the lives that were lost, the hard things that we can see, the buildings and other things. But our institutions were also destroyed. Right now, for example, the Ministry of Public Works used to have presence in most counties, or at least at the regional level, so that the yellow machines could maintain the roads to make sure that they were passable. We had those institutions before. We don't have them anymore because the cost of putting up those institutions have gone up relative to pre-war, you know. And number two, the center is still very fragile and weak. You know, if you don't have a strong center, it will be difficult for you to have an effective decentralization, you know. And so, yes, we have that we have that plan in place, and I think it's going to cost us in the first year around $25 million to begin to decentralize. We are working with our development partners, particularly the Europeans, to help us finance that, and hopefully in about 4 years, we can begin to see decentralization take hold in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Kapumba?
Yeah.
Yeah, the minister can only stay on for about 5 more minutes. So if you want, we can just, maybe ask. Maybe you can take 2 or 3 questions in a row, and then the minister can address it, and then we can close up.
Really? So we can't even make the 8:45 anymore, huh?
What time is it now?
Well, it's 7:56 here. I thought we said we're gonna do it to 8 or at least 8:30. I thought you said 8:30, 8:45. That's fine. That's what the minister can do.
Come on, we'll do it. Yeah, no, we'll go for the 45. We'll go. Let's go ahead.
But you know what though? The one part of your suggestion I like, given the number of people online, I think it's only fair that we take more than one caller at a time, so the minister, at least that will accommodate more people. So let's try that. Let's see how that works. That will be even more special edition. So let's see. We'll take 2 callers, and then the minister will address that. 0755. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh.
Yeah, my name is Siaka A. Kroman. I'm calling from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Well, due to the term fighter, I think, but I really, Mr. President, I spent, more time because this particular program was registered for a very long period of time. And I think we also just said, that this particular program will be very huge, so we needed really more time. But nevertheless, since I went that way, I would like to maybe cut down some of these questions that I have here, though I even had a report from Horizon Media, on the 13.5 million. That is the direct quotation from the minister himself, Minister Amara Konneh, that the money given by EU, that the European Union, was 13.5 million, although others will say 13 million. So in order to just to be straight to the point, in this report, we seen health sector. So I really want to know the difference between health sector and the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare.
Okay.
I want to know the difference. That's one. The second one, I also want to know.
No, Mr. Kromer will take one question. Let's just keep it at that one.
Please.
Let's do this. No, sorry, I have to cut you off. Sorry. No offense. There are too many people. I mean, maybe we'll come by if time permit. Just do it for the sake of your fellow Liberian, many of whom been waiting here forever. So we'll reserve that, the difference between health sector and the Ministry of Health Fund, and then we'll take the next caller. Then the minister will address himself to those. And by the way, the minister is going to appear on a couple of other shows after tonight. After meeting Liberians in person tomorrow, at the event, and then he will meet other group of Liberians. He will be on other shows. But I apologize, if no offense. 9428, 9428, your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh. 9428. Are you there? Sweet. 9428. All right, I'll take this person out of here. I just took you already. 7867, 7867. Your name, where you calling from, your question for Minister Konneh.
Okay, my name is Musa M. Keita, speaking from Minnesota, where the minister will be speaking tomorrow in the Sin City.
Okay.
The matter of
What's your
fact,
question,
first of all, the chairman, the acting chairman right now for Friends of Amara, Konneh in 2017, called FACO 2017. The membership of 824 persons in 7 states right now in the United States. Mr. Konneh, thank you very much for your impressive statements that you have made this evening. I think yourself almost like a water that will be sipping out of day into the ocean. I want to commend you and also commend your fellow Liberians that are fighting against corruption. We have heard a lot about you, and your weapons against corruption will be added upon with another bazooka come 2017. I want to appreciate your
comment. Thank you for your comment. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We got your comment. Thank you. Minister Konneh, you want to take that one or just keep finding another question to add to that?
That was no question. I think we should get
not this one. The first one from Mr. Kroma in Pennsylvania, talking about the difference between health sector and health ministry.
That's an easy one.
Okay.
The sector has several players. In the case of the health sector, you have all the hospitals, all the clinics, you have the medical board, you have the medical school, you have the nursing school, you have, and you have the AIDS Commission. You have several actors within the sector that the government finances. The ministry is the agency that coordinates, the activities in the sector, ensuring that policies are made and implemented, that standards are set and met to make sure that people get people get quality services. So that's the difference between the ministry and a sector in our programs.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Let's see who else. 9326, 9326. Your name, where you calling from? Your question for Minister Konneh. 9326.
My name is Felicia again, and I'm calling from
Felicia. You came back twice. Interesting. All right, quickly. What's your question?
My question would be in connection to the guy that called from New York, Mr.
Yeah, just keep in mind you don't have much time. Yeah, hurry up, Felicia. We got limited time.
Can you clarify about this 13 million linking you to eating this money?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me answer that one because I want to spend some time on this one. From the outset, not a penny. I'm not even going to say a dime. Not a penny of that money was stolen or diverted by anyone. I know that in public opinion, I will have to lick my wounds until the day I go to my grave because of the dark shadow of corruption in Liberia. Felicia and fellow Liberians listening to me, let me tell you about this $13 million. We receive 3 different kinds of budget support from our development partners. One of my objectives as finance minister is to ensure that most of the donor money can come on budget. To do that, I need to improve our public financial management system. I need to be as open and transparent as possible. I need to give our citizens and everyone access to information about the budget. And that is why I have instituted the reforms that I'm currently undertaking in the Ministry of Finance, making sure that I can connect our spending entities to the financial management system at finance to take vouchers and money out of people's hands, making sure that I can produce quarterly reports, and making sure that I can give access to the public on financial information, which I have done through the Open Budget Initiative, and making sure that I can build a strong partnership with civil society to allow our people to have information. This is why today in Liberia, through the cell phone, you can get information on the budget anytime you want. Now, The $30 million came in from the EU as support to the health sector. The EU was a contributor to the Health Pool Fund at the Ministry of Health. The Health Pool Fund is a basket fund in which our development partners put money to support the health sector. All right, it does not come through the budget. The EU decided to say we have enough credibility in Liberia's financial management system. We are going to give the money to the government for the government to spend it on the sector, not on the ministry, on the sector. Okay, to target maternal mortality rates in the country, because the infant mortality rate has decreased, and then it was women who were dying in childbirth, particularly in the rural areas, because of several reasons. Some of them refused to go to the hospital. They get this midwife business, etc. So we wanted to work on that. So 10 million euros were committed by the European Union. When you convert it according to the central bank exchange rate at the time the money came, that's how it came to 13.5. The money came in December, and it went into the government consolidated account in the Central Bank of Liberia. We issued a flag receipt to the EU in Brussels to say that we got the money. Now, how did the money get out? I want you, Felicia, to go to the Ministry of Finance's website and then look at the agencies we say we give the money to, because there are two things happening here. I wrote Dr. Gwanagali a letter in December informing him that the money was here and that he should open a special account. That was a mistake I made as finance minister, all right, because the money was appropriated in the national budget by the legislature, not by me. The Constitution does not give me appropriation power. The Constitution gave not even the president. It gave the national legislature appropriation power. So when the national legislature, when we did the revenue envelope, you capture the budget support as revenue. The national legislature, in their wisdom, decided to appropriate the $13 million to Jackson F. Doe, to JFK, to TB, to the National, I believe, Medical Board, and to the Ministry of Health. Because the Ministry of Health controls small clinics all over the country that, don't have financial systems for you to give money to them directly. That's how the money was appropriated. And to prove this, go to fiscal year 2011-2012 budget and then compare the appropriation for JFK, for Jackson F. Doe, for Health Ministry, and then see if the $13 million is not the difference that put their budget up. When you do that, then you can indict me for misapplying the money. I can assure you, when you do your research and do your math right, it will come up to the $30 million. That's how the money was appropriated. So we disperse the money. When we disperse money to people, we got one account at the central bank. All government money comes into one account and it go out. It makes accountability easier. I did not put that system there. That's a law. It's been there since Dr. Antonin Sayer's time. So when we gave spending entities, we gave 97 spending entities in the government. In that account, we get money coming from customs, we get money coming from real estate, we get money coming from business taxes, we get money coming from payroll taxes, we get money coming from budget support, we get money coming from anything that is government money that we should collect, all goes into that account. When it goes out, we don't tell spending entities, oh, this money you're about to get, it came from this source, that source, and that source. So when Dr. Carter went to the legislature, after they set him up politically, because some of our political enemies there wanted to get at us, because we were trying to prevent some of that money from going to their clinics, where they will use the money to buy drugs and then ship the drugs out of the country to Guinea and other places. We have all of these things. These are things that are not written about, about our fight against corruption in Liberia. Because when the money goes in a certain direction, it's misused through procurement. You don't take it out of that consolidated account. So they set Dr. Carter up in the legislature. They said, oh, did you receive any money from EU? The poor doctor said no. And that became a big issue, and nobody can tell you that, the money that I just got, the voucher, the 100,000 voucher that I just got from Finance Ministry, they told me, say, it came from this place. That's not how we do our budget. So, my sister, no one took the $13 million. Had I taken that $13 million, trust me, the EU wouldn't have announced about a week ago that they are giving me 275 million euros. That's about close to 400 million euros that we can now use on our energy program. We're trying to build a second dam. Had I taken that money, my sister and fellow Liberians, the Americans wouldn't have given us, indirect budget support to the tune of $14 million through the fixed amount reimbursement account, which we are working hard to make sure the Americans can put their money on budget. Had I taken that $13.5 million, the African Development Bank wouldn't have given us $12 million in budget support. Had I taken that $13.5 million, the World Bank, just about 3 days ago, and myself signed a $10 million budget support. So more money is coming on budget under my tenure as finance minister, than previously. And that doesn't mean that I'm taking anything away from my predecessor. It's just a personal mission of mine to increase donor money on budget because our systems are getting better. So no, I did not take any of that money. It was not diverted. It was used to support the health sector. The Ministry of Health wanted to use that money, as the government of Liberia's contribution to the health pool fund, and the good doctor was angry because that was not the case, and I can understand him. We should have talked to him as the sector minister to see how he will use the money. So that was a problem of miscommunication. We have gotten over that. Our partners have reviewed our books. Our books are open for the GAC to review because GAC is connected to our financial system. I did that. And, all of the budget support that have come on after this thing was broken to you here in the diaspora is a testament that no money was diverted or stolen. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the United States today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Konneh. Folks, we have about 26 minutes left. Let me do some quick housekeeping stuff here. After this show in 26 minutes, if you wish to listen to repeat broadcasts of this show, you may dial 559-726-1299. The SIM access code 908209 with a pound sign, at least up until Sunday when the audio will be uploaded on YouTube. That's what you need to do to listen to it. As far as the show we had last week with CDC USA Chairman, that show is being uploaded on YouTube right now. That will also be available by the weekend. That show should be accessible through YouTube video. And like I said, next week, this Sunday, not next week, this coming Sunday, Ganta City Mayor will be joining us live from Ganta to give us an update about land issue compensation that is ongoing in Ganta as we speak. With that said, let's keep taking callers with the remaining time we have. Minister Konneh had mentioned EULA earlier, commended EULA for their effort in the area of dual citizenship, and now we have a question coming from EULA President, Honorable Gay Sled. So, Honorable Sled, you have 1 minute. Gay Sled calling from Illinois. 1 minute question, Honorable Sled. Welcome to Liberian Diaspora Forum.
Thank you. Thank you very much, as always, for doing such a wonderful job in hosting your show.
Thank you.
The Honorable Finance Minister, I want to say welcome to the United States.
Thank you.
And also, I want to take this opportunity to commend you. Despite all the controversy on your coming, you still made it here to face your people, which I encourage that you should be here. And I think it's a good thing. It's a good sign of a leader. And when I listened to you speaking earlier and talking on dual citizenship, I mean, I came on here to listen to other issues and stuff, but many questions have been asked, and you have done extremely well in answering the questions. So I just want to say, on the issue of dual citizenship, I mean, you addressed it. I will not be asking you any question here tonight. I just want to be able to get the okay to get your number from the host chapter, because I would like to set up a teleconference with you and some of the UR leadership so we can have a one-on-one discussion.
Sure.
I want to commend you for the manner in which you are handling and answering all the questions tonight thoroughly. I think you are making yourself very, very clear to all the Liberians in the diaspora, all your listening audience.
Thank you very much. And we will get in touch with you and hold a teleconference.
Thank you, Honorable Gay-Sled. By the way, may I also state for the record that Gay-Sled, ULA president, has been a very good partner of the Liberian Diaspora Forum. He's helped us a lot to bring guests. So has Limani Webmaster, Honorable Asmana Jabate, and Josh Toto of Pennsylvania. We'll take some callers. We'll take a question from 2424. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Honorable Konneh. 2424.
Thanks, Customer, for taking my call. My name is Musa Fufana. I'm calling from Carpenterville, Virginia. My question to the minister is that, is there any system put in place right now as far as the government of Liberia is concerned regarding the governmental infrastructural assets? Because we all know before the war, Joe was trying to build these ministries that are owned directly by the government in order to avoid the exorbitant rentage the government will pay to some personal to certain persons because the government will renting their property. Is there anything in place like that right now?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Fofana. Mr. Konneh, hold on. We'll take another question. Two questions at a time. The system we decided to try earlier. So hold on to that question. Let's take the next one. 1284-1284. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh. 1284.
William Quapper calling from Massachusetts.
Okay, Mr. William. What's your question for the Minister?
Honorable Minister, according to the Honorable Abel Mansali, he visited Pennsylvania and he gave us an outline, which I want you to please justify this. That is pertaining the level of corruption. My question here is, 2013-2014 budget, the Speaker allocated $766,357, including $197,657 for general allowances, $72,000 for special allowance, $55,000 for salary, $139,638 for foreign travel, $12,000 for domestic travel, $24,000 for residential property rental or lease, $90,742 for fuel and lubricant for his vehicle, $37,252 for fuel for his home generator, $24,000 for vehicle repair. When we are fighting against corruption, with these things going on, and Liberians are living below the poverty level, that is less than $1 a day, how do our government justify such a spending?
Thank you.
That's two questions you can answer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. The first question has to do with,
moving building ministry.
Moving government operations into government building. Brother Fofana, yes, we are doing just that. We have moved most ministries and agencies from private buildings into government buildings renovated by the Ministry of Public Works. But the big project on the table now has to do with a very large ministerial complex that is going to be financed by the government of China. We have some issues with land, for that project to start. It should have started a long time ago, but we have just finalized that. And hopefully this dry season coming up, the construction of a new ministerial complex will commence in the area where the new defense ministry is, since that building has been, has been classified as unsuitable for occupancy, and in that general area. We have settled all of the claims from private owners around the area, and so the Chinese government will begin the construction soon. The second question from Mr. William, giving specific reference to the Speaker's budget. Mr. William, let me tell you, I did not come to the United States to defend corruption. I came to the United States to discuss corruption with you all and hopefully get some concrete suggestions on how we can all work together to fight it. The Speaker's budget, was made by the legislature. We talk about it. Our Constitution gives our national legislature appropriation power. I can understand the outrage you may have on this, but I think it will be the Speaker or someone from his office who can justify these numbers to you. But I also want you to know that the Speaker, being the third person in government, has several staff. He's an elected government official who came from a district outside of Monrovia. So, all of them, all of our lawmakers are entitled to housing allowances. They, are entitled to cars. These are daily battles that we have to try to reduce some of these costs. But in the end, they make the justification for the expenditure. So I think perhaps we all need to talk about this. Like I said on the radio in Liberia last Friday, in order for us to develop the country, all of us will have to make sacrifices. Liberia will not develop if we continue on the same pattern of spending public money. We need to close our eyes. And let me tell you, we are in the 21st century. When I was growing up with my grandmother on Camp Johnson Road, in a one-bedroom house, one-bedroom place there, the house didn't have any toilet. We used to use the public toilet right on UN Drive there, between Camp Johnson Road and UN Drive. Today in Monrovia, you can't find public toilet. A city of 1.5 million people, when people leave Pinsville and Gardensville to come to downtown to do business, they get jammed. They have to either use government buildings or they have to go beg people in order for them to ease themselves. For me, that's unacceptable. And these are some of the things that, maybe our lawmakers ought to consider so that all of us can make the sacrifice, look at some spending and say, you know what, we need to divert the money here and there. But I think we made some progress last year with them, which is why we were able to meet our obligation to the Hydro project. We were able to meet our obligation to the airport project. We were able to meet our obligation to dredging the port. Not an easy fight. We managed to cut $200 million in fat, from recurrent expenditure into public sector investment programs. We can do more. But we need voices like you and others in Liberia, for us to do that. The emphasis, tends to be on the executive. There where the emphasis of corruption is. But the government has three branches. All three will have to be a part of this coalition. And the pressure that is being exerted on the executive by citizens, rightly so, must also be extended to the other two branches of government, because in cases where corruption is found, prosecution has to be made because under our law, an accused is innocent until proven guilty. And once they go to court, the court must judiciously, review the case based on the evidence and render their decision. If we cannot get positive decision from the court, and then we get a reverse impact in cases where ministers and government, heads of agencies that are trying their best to fight corruption, the next thing you know, they go to court. The court reverses the decision. It's the minister who's getting sued now. Then you make the corruption fight difficult because people get scared. I go to court, I lose, they sue me. So we have to hold all three branches of government accountable for this. And I'm sure that with the voices of our citizens, we can make progress. The things that we have made in terms of the open budget initiative, in terms of rigorous reporting, in terms of giving people access to the budget through the cell phone in Liberia. You just punch in a few codes, you get budget information on the cell phone. First time in the history, in our country. All of these things will not stop corruption, but they will help to expose it. They will expose it only when citizens begin to ask those who are receiving the money about what they are doing with the money versus focusing on those who are distributing the money. Since we launched the Open Budget Initiative, I've had several demonstrations in front of the Ministry of Finance to say, here is the information on the budget. People pay children to go demonstrate. There's no emphasis on those who are receiving the money for these projects to tell us whether they're delivering the projects or not. And I think we need to have a balanced approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Konneh. Folks, obviously we are very tight on time. It's Ramadan, and so we will take a few more callers and until we can get the minister out of here. So instead of 2-2, now that the questions are getting shorter and everyone is asking one question at a time, how about we do 3-3 this time, just so everyone can squeeze in their questions here. And so to those of you who keep testing me, we'll just go ahead. We'll take 7381, 7381. Your name, where you calling from, your question for Minister Konneh. 7381.
My name is Famata Williams. I'm calling from Raleigh, North Carolina. I would like to know if the minister is going to be in the Raleigh area before he leaves. But my question is about the Liberian currency. I would like to know how valuable is the Liberian dollar, because I have few friends who have gone to watch the game back in Liberia. When they went to purchase their ticket, they were told they cannot take the Liberian dollar. They have to use U.S. dollar. And what can the minister do to address that issue to make sure it stops? Because we don't live in USA, or they don't live in USA, they live in Liberia. So they should be able to use Liberian dollar for whatever they need to purchase. Thank you.
Then we'll take another question here. Let's remember that question, Honorable Konneh. 8251, 8251. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Honorable Konneh. 8251.
Honorable Konneh, this is Isiaka Silvia from Dallas, Texas, and we are a big fan of yours, especially so that you are a role model for all of us down here. You inspire us a lot. My question is, in your budgetary allocation, most of the time you see institutions like the police department, they are in poor condition. They don't have cars, some of them walk, and all of those things. And these are perceptions. It's hard to bring investment when you don't see a lot of security. What are some of the things that you're doing about those things?
Thank you. So 2 questions. We'll take a 10-1, and then hopefully that will do it. 9532, 9532. Your name, where you calling from, and your question for Minister Konneh.
My name is Joseph Gamoyu Brown, calling from Pennsylvania, calling you to be specific. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for allowing me the time. And good evening, Mr. Minister, and thank you for coming out to this show. I also want to admonish you and to let you know that the work you are doing is being appreciated in some other quarters of the Liberian community. So keep up the good work. Now to my question. In the past, I listened to some documentary or some report that the Western region is trying to have one currency. My question is, are you guys have learned anything from the EU experience? Because just 10 years ago, it was, one currency in the European Union, and then all of a sudden everything started to collapse. And I believe that every situation that brought some hindrance to the EU is all the situations still exist, even more in the West African region. And so what are the lessons learned from the EU? And and how?
All right, thank you. So lesson learned from EU with regard to one single currency in the sub-region. So we got 3 questions on Konneh.
Okay. We start with our sister, Famata Williams, in Raleigh, North Carolina. Famata, unfortunately, I will not be able to come there on this trip. But, if and when I'm invited and given my travel plans, I will be more than happy to come there to hang out with you guys. Look, the question about the Liberian currency is a very, very important economic question. You can tell me that all of the countries in our neighborhood are wrong for using their currency as the only currency for transaction in their countries, and we can be the only one right to have 2 currencies. And at the level of the economic management team, I have started the advocacy. I believe that in the coming weeks or months, you will see some movement on that. We need to decide, whether we stick with the U.S. dollar or we stick with the Liberian dollar. Today, we're seeing the impact. The Liberian dollar is depreciating fast against the U.S. dollar. The exchange rate has gone from 72 to close to 80. And guess who is going to be hurt? The Liberians who are at the bottom of the income ladder, who get their pay in Liberian dollar. It would mean that the food that would be on their dining room table would decrease. Economically, it's not good for the government. So we need to do something about this quickly. So this is a matter of policy for the government. The U.S. dollar, the stock of the U.S. dollar in our economy is high. We are tapping into our reserve because of the trade imbalance. We are importing more than we are exporting. And so the money we need to import are hard U.S. currency that we must ship abroad in order to bring in the import. And the expenditure from the government, the big expenditures are going to foreign companies. All of the road construction companies in the country, most of them are owned by foreigners. And when you pay them for road work, most of the U.S. currency is repatriated to their country. It doesn't stay in the country. So here are a few policy actions we are going to take on the fiscal side in the coming weeks. We're going to increase government spending in Liberian dollar to pose the issue. I'm sure this will make news in Liberia. We'll pose the issue by increasing, how much money we can pay in Liberian dollar from government expenditure for finance ministry. Right now, it's 60-40, 60 U.S. dollar, 40% Liberian dollar. I'm going to reverse it. We just need to get a green light from the central bank to make sure that when we increase the demand for Liberian dollar on the market or increase the supply of the Liberian dollar in the market, that they will be able to provide the supply. And we don't have a shortage to create an opposite effect. So we have no more choice but to address this issue. Ghana cannot be wrong. Cote d'Ivoire cannot be wrong. Guinea cannot be wrong. Sierra Leone cannot be wrong. And Liberia is right. We've got to fix this one. Isiaka Sidibe from Texas, thank you. I hope we don't let you down. But you're right. Security is important because it assures investors. It also, protects citizens, so that they can wake up every morning to go hustle. We need to do more for our police. Our police is at the center of the unmilled drawdown. And so we are focusing there on basically on training and the quality of people you bring into the police. I am not a security expert. What I'm hearing from our security folks is that they are focusing on attracting college graduates now into the police force and providing them with adequate training to start. But in order for us to look at the report that was just released, the report that everybody is saying Liberia is the most corrupt country, basically it has to do with bribery. And the police specifically was cited as the frequent bribe receiver, followed by our court. It's not a good thing that those who are supposed to be administering justice can take bribes from citizens. So we need to shift the focus. I'd like to say to all Liberians that our budget is not too big. Again, I'll call on all of our colleagues in the government to please make some sacrifices. We can't buy all the vehicles that you want to buy. We can't buy. The more vehicles we buy, the more we'll have to pay for maintenance, the more we'll have to pay for gasoline. We just need to close our eyes to shift some of that money to deal with some of the issues that you have just raised vis-a-vis the pay for police officers. The other day I was telling my staff that perhaps we need to lead the way. Maybe the finance minister needs to start driving 10 in Monrovia so that we can reduce the cost of buying vehicles, but they don't like to hear that. So we will not go that far, but we want to make sure that we can have a vehicle fleet management policy, system in place that will reduce the cost. But we are spending close to $30 million just on maintenance. Even if we slash that into half and then spend the remaining $15 million on social programs, that will help us, So it's something that we are working on with the authorities in the security sector. They are open to some of the suggestions, but there are other operational issues that they also would like to protect. Now, Brother Brown from Massachusetts, calling Pennsylvania. Thank you so much for your compliment. Yes, we have learned a valuable lesson, from the Europeans on the single currency issue. I serve as chair for the West Africa, Monetary Convergence Council. And the biggest question there is no country would like to give up their independence because the national identity tool is in the currency. A big power like Nigeria doesn't want to give up the Naira or anybody else. Ghana the same. So geopolitically, we are going along. And I hope you understand what I'm saying. That's all I can say.
Okay. Folks, it's about 8:38, and so I'll say we're going to take 6 more questions. That's it. 3 at a time, and then that will be it. Like as I said earlier, the minister is here for the weekend, and he's going to be on a bunch of other shows besides this one. Better yet, if he's super generous, we might be lucky to have him on the same show at some other time. But we can only take 6 more questions, 3 at a time, and so that may answer the questions in 2 different segments. So beginning with that, let's take a Winnipeg, Canada caller. I believe this is Mr. Douglas from Winnipeg. 1797. Would you please confirm your name, where you're calling from, your question for Mr. Konneh? 1797.
Yes, Mr. Kroma, thank you very much. My name is Abu Dukle, and I'm calling from Winnipeg, Canada. I want to, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to dialogue with our Honorable Amara Konneh, Minister of Finance. And thank you very much, Mr. Minister, for sharing your time with us this evening. What I want to ask you about is something I read in the write-up you had published in Front Page Africa, in which you mentioned about how you are working hard to make Liberia one of the middle-income countries in the continent. But what I wanted to say before that is that I heard you cite some examples of a corruption. You made mention of the Lebanese, and some other examples you cited. But the corruption issue is one part, and one part of that corruption also is wasting, misappropriating the funds that are supposed to go for something else. And as you mentioned rightly, when the prices are inflated because it's the government paying for it. And so my question to you, in order to have a country made a middle-income country, there are certain fundamentals that must be met. And one of those fundamentals is to reduce the disparity among citizens. As we can see in Liberia, every aspect...
Mr. Ducle, can you just put into a question format? The minister will all need to go break fast. Can you put into a question format quickly, sir?
So my question is, as the Minister of Finance, what are some of the mechanisms that you are working on in order to tackle some of those endemic underlying issues that are impediment to the objectives of having Liberia to be middle-income country?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Duple. 4912, 4912. Your name, where you calling from, your question quickly for Minister Konneh. 4912.
Yeah, this is Amos Cocker calling from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Mr. Minister Konneh. My question is straightforward. In the New Dawn newspaper of July 24, 2013, it reads, Ellen 6 Fast-Track Corruption Code. Mr. Konneh, what is your view on this for our fellow Liberians here to know? Thank you.
Thank you. Third question, 6377, 6377. Your name, where you calling from, your question for Minister Konneh. Quickly, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kafuma. Thank you. My name is Amara. I'm calling from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia specifically. Thank you, Mr. Minister, for coming to share with us your vision for Liberia and also for addressing yourself to some of the questions. My question has to do with the bill that is pending before the House regarding funding for political parties.
Political parties bill funding,
funding for political parties. Many of us have learned that the bill seeks to support political parties in the tune of roughly $5 million. And as you can rightly see, Liberia, in many areas in Liberia, there are lack of schools. Schools, even if the schools infrastructure exists, but they don't have textbooks, they don't have materials to have a decent learning environment. Is it a prudent decision for the government to support individual political parties in the tune of $5 million when that $5 million can be converted to 50 schools at the rate of $100,000 per year? Is that a prudent decision by the government to seek to support political parties in their quest for political governance? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Can I answer this question now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me address the question from Mr. Abu Ducle in Canada. Mr. Ducle, thank you for your interest in this middle-income vision that we have for our country. I just want you to know that Liberia, by World Bank definition, used to be a middle-income country in the mid to late early 70s until our economic and social problems started, and then everything unraveled from there. And then the economy collapsed outright by some 90%, the largest collapse in the history of growth economics. You talk about reducing the disparity, in income, and I have to say that the spectacular gap, in income that separate the rich and the poor in Liberia is the central economic fact of our time. There's no question about it. But the gap will not be closed naturally. We have to fix the economy. And to fix the economy, we have to rebuild the infrastructure that will bring about economic expansion. economic expansion will not happen without real investment. And that is why, at the Ministry of Finance, we have shifted the focus from transactional stuff, chasing vouchers and here and there, to focus the country on the big picture, the hydro, the roads connecting our key commercial centers, thinking of our economy not in terms of the 3.4 million people we have there, but in terms of 10 million when you factor in Eastern Sierra Leone, the forest region of Guinea, and Western Cote d'Ivoire. This is how we must think of our economy. We have to change, we have to increase, productivity in the economy. Right now we have less than 12-hour economy. By 7 o'clock, all the stores, all the major economic activities are closing because of the lack of electricity and because of the lack of proper security. So these are the things that we are working on, and that is why I believe in my opening I said that on this middle income vision that we are pursuing, and which I have no doubt that we can achieve, has two parts. The hard part that I just talked about and the soft issues. Remember, between 19 and 1972, the GNI, the gross national income for Liberia, was close to $1,000. By World Bank definition, this is lower middle income. Now, Liberia got her independence in 1847. Botswana got her independence in 1966. At Botswana's independence in 1966, Liberia was richer than Botswana in terms of GNI. Today, the gross national income for Liberia is around between 250 and 300 until we can finish our household income survey. In Botswana today, it's around between 13 to 14,000. All right, and Botswana has a lot of challenges in terms of geography. All right, about 75% of the land is the Kalahari Desert, so they have very limited space for production. Their major export is diamond, so they make sure they got the institutions right for that. So, and also they have a meritocracy, they have a strong rule of law environment. We have to go beyond the who know you, I know you, my relative here, my relative there in Liberia, and begin to make some hard decisions to change the way we are running the country. We have to start being sympathetic to our friends, to our relatives, in the government or, across the board when they break the rules, so that we can get, the institutions for enforcing the laws, for enforcing contracts, right? Because all of those things contribute to this middle income vision that we are pursuing. We also have to get the institutions that resolve conflict stronger, the police, the courts. We have to make sure that we increase our consultations to involve more people in the governance process. We have to open the doors for minorities. We have to look beyond trust because it is stunting development. So those are some of the things that we must do concomitantly along with the with the investments we are making in hard infrastructure to achieve this vision. It will not come naturally. We'll have to coordinate better, and we have to include more people. The second question from Amos has to do with fast-track, the corruption code. I think this is important, and I like this question because I left it out. Because of the difficulties we are experiencing through the normal code, the president is pushing the Supreme Court to establish a special code on corruption cases, to deal specifically with corruption cases. I can tell you, my friends, there are more corruption cases in the courts than you know about. A lot of cases are there, but they stay long on the docket because of some of the things we told you about. The relative business and this and that, all of those things are hurting our country's image. Actions are being taken. but we are focusing only on the executive side. We're not extending the scrutiny, to the other branches of government, because they too must do their part in order for us to make any meaningful gains on this fight against corruption. So the corruption code has been on the table since the days of former Chief Justice Johnny Lewis. We hope that this new Chief Justice and the Supreme Court will fast-track it. The President has been pushing them, and when they do so, it will help to deal with most of the corruption cases that are in the legislation now for hearing. And then the last question had to do with political party funding bill. I can tell you outright, as your finance minister, we're not ready for it. It will take money away from key programs into the hands of political parties. I know that our democracy is young and fragile, and we need to build our political parties so that they can be independent, they can hold the ruling parties accountable. But let us wait until we can expand our budget more for us to be able to fund programs such as this. That's my take on that one. Thank you.
Minister, I think I'd like to call this a closing remark, if you will. Just in the process, if you will touch these last three, just make them part of your closing remarks so we can let you out of here to break fast, if you don't mind. Quickly, 9103, just one question very quickly. We are over time here. 9103, your name, where are you calling from? Your question quickly.
Yeah, from Washington, D.C. How are you?
What's your name?
Sia from Washington, D.C.
Sia, Washington, D.C. Sia, welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Honorable, for your rhetoric on Liberia's development. However, my question is, how can the concept of rule of law, sponsored by the international community and stakeholders, be successfully integrated into Liberia's electoral process before the next election? Because we know what happened last, and there seemed to be some sort of vicarious action from the government where, certain leaders are put in place that favor certain politics. So I just want to know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sia. Thank you. Let's take this one here. And this will be your closing remark, Minister. I just have to touch on these questions. 7437, 7437. Your name, where are you calling from? Your question quickly.
Kafumba.
Yeah.
Can we just make Sia comment the last question, because the minister has to drive another 20 minutes before, he breaks his fast. So, time is running out.
All right. Well, folks, that's the minister, chief of staff right there. You heard it, man. So, we're going to leave it at that. I wish I could take many more, but like I said, the minister will be around for a while. So, hopefully, we'll have him, or we can have him on other shows besides ours. So, Minister Konneh, maybe just address Sia's question as part of your closing remark, and then we'll get you out of here. Then, my apologies to the rest of you waiting to ask questions. We have to go. Right, Minister Konneh?
Well, yeah, thank you. To answer Sia's question, I believe there's a role for the international community to strengthen our democracy and our rule of law environment. But we need to continue to provide support for training our judges through the Judicial Training Institute. I have seen the support for that institute decline, over the past 2 years. We need to maintain it because we are dealing with a situation where judges are appointed for life, and some of these judges were idle for about a generation, when you factor in the war years. And so we need to work on them. The government is, working on retiring some of them so that new judges can come in, but these new judges would need training. Also, our election commission will need a lot of support in terms of technical assistance on election administration. This is key. The last election, for those of us who were involved, was really hectic. The country was at the brink of a crisis. Had it not been for the willingness of Liberians to prevent it, particularly the political party leaders, and the strong support from the international, national community. So, if you are working on something in Washington, D.C., and you want me to be helpful, please let me know. we are counting on the international community to stay with us. We are still a very fragile country. That's what I tell my fellow Liberians back home. We are not a normal country yet, so we should not pretend to be one. We need all the help we can get from our partners to ensure that we can cement the gains we've made so that we don't slide back into conflict. Now, to close finally, I want to thank Kafumba for inviting me tonight to have a frank and open conversation with my countrymen. I want to thank all of you who came on. For those of you who did not get a chance to ask me your question, I hope we can have an opportunity to interact in the future. I just wanted you to know that it's morning again in Liberia. It's dawn in Liberia. The sun is coming up. And as you know, in the morning, things can be sluggish at times, but that's when everybody gets ready for breakfast to go to work. We have opened our schools. Our health centers are up and running in spite of all of the talks you're hearing about go slow and what have you. They are not the perfect institutions, but they are providing services to our people. We need to work on improving the quality of those services. In the next 24 hours, several miles of roads will be paved and rehabilitated across Liberia. We have yellow machines working all over Liberia now to rehabilitate our roads and build new ones in order to begin to transform our economy. 2 nights ago, electricity was tested in Ganta and Sanakoli and in 16 other towns along the border with Cote d'Ivoire, through the West African Power Pool to which the government is contributing. This is good news in Liberia. The Buchanan Highway is now open. We're beginning to see increased activities in that corridor because of the time it's taking now for business people to travel between the two places. We see more conferences going to Buchanan. We see ships leaving the port, that sort of thing. These were unthinkable, about 6 years ago. A train is making 2 trips weekly between Yeketa and the port of Buchanan. We are opening up the highway from Monrovia to Ganta and to the Guinea border. Things are happening, but we still need to deal with the West Point issue, the nuclear issue, the unemployment crisis, the youthful population, how we do it. Every month, about 20,000 young people are ready to enter the labor force. All right, skilled. The year we're talking about 50,000 young people, skilled laborers. When you add all of the university graduates and other people ready to enter the formal labor force. Our economy is not producing much in order to absorb them. This is a crisis in the waiting. So sometimes when you think about all of this, you may think that development is impossible. But I think we are putting in place all of the right fundamentals, the benefit of which may not be seen during the time of President Sully, but certainly will come along. Once we open up the Western cluster, and put electricity there, once Sendadi begins to export all of the investment on the ground, contrary to what people are saying, when it begins to get to full production and export, the benefit will trickle down to our people. I can understand the impatience. of folks we are dealing with more than a generation of economic collapse. There was nothing in place. We had to build everything from scratch. And the country does not have the resources to do it. And to close finally, I want to assure all Liberians that on the $30 million issued from the European Fund, not a dime, a penny, or any of that money was stolen or diverted. It was spent on the health sector, not necessarily the way the Minister of Health wanted it spent, which we will remedy in the future, but it was spent on them. As a result, The EU has increased its support to Liberia. The African Development Bank is giving us $12 million in budget support. The Great United States is giving us $14 million in indirect budget support. The World Bank is giving us $10 million. I know that me and my family will go to our grave with the bruise that this thing has caused on my integrity and my character. But such is the case for a public official. I feel sometimes like Rocky Balboa in the movie Rocky. You take punches, but you got to stay in the ring. You know, I look forward to all of you coming to Liberia. I brought a 15-minute video of the progress and the challenges we are making and facing together in Liberia. I hope I can show it at the town hall meeting on Saturday, after which we'll put it on YouTube so you all can see that indeed we are making progress in spite of all of the challenges we face. And Liberia certainly is back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Amara Konneh, Minister of Finance, Republic of Liberia. It's been a pleasure having you on our show. I want to thank each and everyone who came on tonight to be with us to take part in this discussion. And let me also apologize to all of you who didn't get to ask your questions. Such is the time. Hopefully, we will meet again, and then we'll have more time than we had today. Before we conclude the show, let me acknowledge the contribution of Brother Vamba Fofana, EULA Eastern Regional Vice President, who's been very, very helpful in promoting this show. I forgot his name earlier. I forgot to acknowledge his contribution earlier. Let me conclude on that note. So with that said, we will call it a night, and we look forward to seeing all of you at the various events where the minister will be tomorrow. So once again, thank you, and you all have a wonderful night. Thank you, Mr. Minister Konneh.